You kids want some business ideas that's going to put money in your pocket? We're talking to Jim MacLennan. He's going to give us some ideas that's going to put some money in your pocket. What's up, Jim?
Hey, not too much, man. What's up with you?
Living the dream. So we're going to be hanging out, and who are we? Kenner French with vastsolutionsgroup.com. We are talking the Vast Voice, telling business secrets to entrepreneurs. We're going to be hanging out for 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, chatting about ways to put money in entrepreneurs' pockets, and it sounds like you're the man to do that. Now, tell us, why are you the man to be able to help some of these people out there?
Actually, I think it's because I've seen a whole lot of people try to pitch or try to, make something happen, sell their company or whatever. And oh my gosh, they just go about it the wrong way. If there's one thing of many things I talk to people about, is how best to tell your story.
Oh, I like that. It's stories. Stories are really what does the selling. So tell us a little bit about your background, because it sounds like it's pretty awesome.
I have a varied background. I mean, certainly I went corporate. I was the vast majority of my career was in classic corporate IT, and got to that top level and said that was great. Didn't want to really do that again, and so I went off and became a consultant. My last gig in corporate, we were a serial acquirer, so I've seen a lot of pitches from standalone companies. As my consulting business is primarily around product strategy and product consulting. And in the last couple of years here, I've been involved in venture capital as well. So startups and funds and things like that. And a lot of people pitching and pitch decks. And like I said, the vast majority would start all wrong. Yeah. And take an awful lot of time to get to what I care about.
I totally get what you're saying. I've been around for a while, and I've done some venture capital investing, and I've seen some crazy pitches that just go awry. And they might have a great idea, but it goes down the wrong path, and they end up losing out on a chance of making some dough based on it. So, okay, so I like the venture capital.
Wait, one of the coolest patterns, sorry to cut you off, one of the coolest patterns is they get to the end, and they start with the wrong thing, but the last slide, it's like, the thing I've been talking to you about is going to make you this much money, but that second thing I mentioned was actually going to be worth more money over time. I'm like, why didn't you lead with that?
I know exactly what you mean. I was on a board with this guy, Kevin Harrington, who's the original shark in the Shark Tank. And that was exactly what was said. It's pretty funny you say that. Yeah. Anyway, all right. So let's talk some venture capital. Let's add some value to some people right off the bat. So what is it that, besides that, what else have you seen that can really help some of the people here who are going to be watching and listening to this?
Well, and certainly when you're approaching VC and you're asking for money, you have to have a plan. You have to understand your customer. And so many people are just fall in love with their product. They don't talk to the customer and don't ask the customer what they want. Don't validate that their idea is actually going to sell with a customer. Really understanding that. And then the other thing, if I had to pick another one, it would be that people, when they ask for that first tranche of cash, they either ask for too little or they ask for too much. They really don't want to, and mess up their cap table. They really don't want to give away too much equity. Stop. You're going to have to invest. Come on, you need this to accelerate. But then the other folks that just, I want $10 million because I want to hire an entire big sales force. No. Just hire one. Just hire one and get the first 5 sales and just
scale it up. Yeah.
So it's either too much or too little. That's an interesting pattern.
Yeah, I totally hear what you're saying. We've bootstrapped everything here at Vast Solutions Group since 1969 to now. I can tell you it's been a challenge, but it's worth it. It's worked out. So, okay. So then what about some operating companies? As you know, most of our people are already operating as a company, or they're investors and they're, kind of doing their own deal. Most of them, solopreneurs all over the United States, pretty loaded. Let's talk to the ones who have an operating business and they probably want to take it to the next level. You've seen a lot of those type companies. So give some suggestions that can add value in that regard.
Well, I suppose it gets to sort of what do you need to make that growth happen? If it's going to be capital, if it's going to be talent, if it's going to be just access to do markets or go to a different channel. And to make that connection, you're talking to wildly different people. If you're having a conversation with investors and you're trying to get capital, that's a really fundamentally different conversation than, say, if you're talking to doing business development, trying to build a new channel. Mm-hmm. You really have to learn what's your audience's currency. What do they care about? What is the thing that they want to have this conversation with? And you need their help to make it happen. Don't start off with your thing. For the investors, for example, they need to understand For the investors, for example, they need to understand and evaluate the long-term potential and the scalability of your business. But for business development, for looking at new channels, you need to help them understand what's their path to market. Why do they care about this new thing, or how is your product going to fit in with the things that they're already doing? So you have to adjust your message to understand who in the next step of your growth is the folks that you're talking to, and adjust your message for them.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. That's helpful right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, wow, that's good. That right. Hopefully people are really going to glob onto that idea, because what you've just talked about can totally add some value to some business owners. There's no doubt, especially some of our bigger hitters.
Yeah.
So, and I know, I think more and more people are starting their own community, just like we're starting our community. That's called the Vast Vault. Well, by the way, it's only $29, and there's mass content in there. We're going to add so much value to the people. But so I'm going to ask you about your process of you starting your community, because I think it's pretty cool, especially coming from someone who's seen so many businesses. Tell us a little bit about your community that you're just now starting to launch.
Right, that's exciting, because it's the classic when you get to a certain age and you think you want to retire, but a lot of people say, no, I need a reason to get up in the morning, and it's work, right? And that's why people have a tough time after retirement. Well, I didn't want to retire, but I don't want to work. I want to do something that actually fires my soul, and it took me a while to figure this out, but I'm nuts about my grandkids, and I really remember growing up, being exposed to forests and living near mountains and forests. I grew up in Southern California. So when it comes to, hey, let's do a purpose-driven business, and sustainability was way too big. This is actually a thought process I went through. I'm going to save the world through sustainability, but no, that's way too big. But the amount of, and there's already a lot of venture investment going on in sustainability, but you have to break it up in all the different elements. And when you get all the way down to forestry and use of land, it's minuscule compared to how much money is going into carbon and carbon capture and carbon measurement. So I said, beautiful, that's what I want to do. I've been trying to do too much, too big with this consulting firm. I need to niche it down. So I'm leveraging my business experience and sort of pick a niche and really drive hard on that. As well as my passion, which is trying to make the world a better place for my grandkids. So that's how I got to forestry, and even very specifically forest restoration, forest economics, and also fire management. And so I rebranded my LLC. Now I'm Talking Tree Ventures. I absolutely want to get to a point, generate cash working with my clients, but really to the goal of building a venture fund for direct impact investment on startups. And again, using where my background is, which is digital technology and applied digital technology for business, really for entrepreneurs, for startups, for people with great ideas looking for that venture capital. So the journey was, how do you apply my technology background? How do I apply my business background to creating something, in my little niche, and something that actually is going to sustain? Building a community for that, well, I just launched like about 6 months ago, so it's really an exciting challenge. I've got an existing network, but how do I leverage that to sort of build up and find these find the investors and find the entrepreneurs?
I guess. So I'm going to ask nitty gritty questions.
Yeah.
So because you have a digital background, you've run a bunch of companies, you've done, the whole deal. So what are like the platform? What platform are you using? How are you marketing it? Let's say someone comes on board, a newer person. Are you going to do it for free for a while? Or, some of the logistics, because I think some of our people out there in my opinion, need to start communities. Just like I said, we're starting a community. So I think I'd like to hear a little bit about your community.
Sure. I have a background in, I have a long experience in blogging on WordPress and trying to build a community.
Old school. Yeah.
Yeah, very old school.
Yeah.
And I think the nature of the services that I give to folks is very much B2B. It's not really a B2C type play. And so I found that LinkedIn, I like generating content and new content and hosting it on my site, and I have this big backlog of stuff there. But using LinkedIn as the way to not only target and leverage my existing network, but find where the professionals are. And then also LinkedIn groups, because that gives you a very specific, people are nominating themselves to be part of the group that is dealing in forestry or dealing in fire. So using and levering LinkedIn, but really the goal would be to drive them back to your own mailing list and your own property, so you can actually capture that and have that conversation. I've got I had a fascinating flight to Phoenix, round trip to Phoenix last weekend, and kind of bored on the plane, so I started up a conversation with ChatGPT and came up with this hilariously cool idea for a more focused business as part of Talking Tree.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to involve building a community of startups and building a community of investors, and then getting them to connect, and sort of facilitating that. And so again, now it's back to how do I find these existing pools of people and really start to target in. It's all tip of the pencil, because I've got some other projects I got to clear out of the way, but I'm pretty psyched about it.
Yeah, I got it. That's kind of cool. Yeah, we use, speaking of your talking to ChatGPT, we personally use kind of basically Gemini, which is part of Google.
Right.
The underscore of that, the under let's say the foundation is for us is a thing called TensorFlow, which is the underpinning to all of Google products. Anyway, and you talk about talking to ChatGPT. We actually that's how we run our business. Basically, is our own AI model called Einstein. So we're always talking that model. And hopefully it's going to make our business better, sharpen the pencil specifically, as it makes us better at communicating with our clients, putting together our community, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, so I think it's cool that you're actually talking to ChatGPT, it sounds funny, but it totally makes sense,
It's absolutely, I can't tell you how much AI I'm seeing in the venture world. Everybody's slapping AI in front of their services and products, but if you really know how to use it and apply it to your business, it is force multiplying. It's not going to replace. I feel it just makes you smarter when you're using it smartly. But it's not. It'll do some automation, but it can't do everything by itself. It's got to be a partner, never a replacement.
I do agree with that, but I think people have got to use it. The ones who are really using it actively are going to succeed that much more than the people who are not going to use it or who are shying away from it. Because I remember there's some big name people back, we started our own model in AI 2018 called Einstein, and people were laughing at me, I'm nerdy or whatever. But now those same people who are laughing at me are, supposedly big gurus in AI. But anyway, that's a whole nother deal. But all right, so wait a minute. So then what software are you using? Tell us a little bit more about your community, because again, maybe, who knows, some people might be able to use some of your ideas or want to contact you because you have some cool ideas as far as community building, because that's what you're trying to do.
Sure. So it starts with the content, and I've got this combination of content I'm creating from scratch and content I'm creating sort of reusing stuff from my old world, but putting a forestry sort of intent around it. The specific tools would be, I typically don't write anymore as much as I edit, because I use dictation. So it's Microsoft Office. Google works as well, but just having a conversation with the document and talking to it and laying out your sort of thoughts and then editing it. A huge benefit to me has been Grammarly, which is an AI product that will read your document and help you sort of make it sound a bit more professional, take out the redundancy, take out the wordy sentences, things like that. I don't really like using any AI to write the whole article and then edit it, because it just doesn't quite sound like me. Although I have uploaded my book. I wrote a book a couple of years ago. I uploaded my book to ChatGPT and said, now that's my writing style. I can ask it to write like me, and then answer this question. Now answer this question in my voice, and you can tell the difference, and it's pretty wild. So that's kind of nice. So I definitely use ChatGPT for research on topics and finding experts and things like that. So any AI can do that too. When it comes to now getting it all the way to publish and then pushed out to the world, I'm actually using a virtual assistant. There's a whole theory that says, understand how you spend your time. What's the most valuable? Literally figure out, how much money you could make by billing that time. Are you wasting a lot of time doing admin stuff? No, pay somebody at, $10 an hour, $20 an hour, and then take that valuable time that you freed up and put it towards, money-making activity, profitable. So I do have a virtual assistant, and we use Trello to arrange our work. I've been using that for a long time. That's really powerful as a markup board, and then certainly the Google Docs for sharing stuff, and that whole suite. Just it's plenty powerful, and it makes great stuff happen, and it's especially in the world when I'm working with entrepreneurs or startups or small companies. The vast majority of that market or audience uses Google. My corporate work is always in Microsoft Office.
Yeah, more people. Yeah,
Yeah.
I understand.
Then WordPress as a base. I use MailChimp for the mailing list, and any programmed sort of outbound stuff. And from I used to do a newsletter. I stopped it. I'm restarting the mailing list for the focus on forestry. And after a certain point, I'm going to hit a certain number of users, and then I'll probably start the newsletter again in MailChimp. And there's similar ones that work well for that. And then I have a CRM too. Certainly because it's a B2B-ish feel. If it was a B2C type product where I was selling, thousands or something like that, that's not really my market. So I'll keep my contacts and leads in a CRM, and I use this nice, really modern one called Insightly. It's all cloud, and it's modern interface and easy to extend and a reasonable cost. I think that pretty much covers it.
Yeah, that's a good list. That's going to be helpful for someone. So, and then you mentioned a little bit more about forestry. So explain a little bit more about that. And by the way, how do people get a hold of you if they're interested in any of the things you've talked about?
Sure. Actually, the easiest, so you don't have to, it's easy to remember. Just send a note to Jim@don'tthinksomuch.com.
Jim@don'tthinksomuch.com.
Yeah, that's the name of my book, and I originally bought the domain because I want to be able to have an email address that was really easy to tell people, and they didn't have to write it down. I didn't have to spell it slowly for them. But my current sort of real working one is Jim@talkingtreeventures.com.
All right, Jim@talkingtreeventures.com. That's what you want people to reach out to you at versus
absolutely, and certainly on LinkedIn and stuff like that. I make tons of connections on LinkedIn as well.
Gotcha. And it sounds like that's also one of your platforms. So where you're coming out with some of your content, and what's your, just in case, what's your handle on LinkedIn?
Well, just Jim MacLennan. I mean, look it up.
Okay. Well, I wasn't sure if there are a whole bunch of Jim MacLennan.
Yeah, they don't really use handles per se. The other thing, to be fair too, and my virtual assistants got me into this, even though it's a B2B sort of conversation I'm trying to have, I believe. There is a market for Instagram and there is a market for Pinterest. So I do post on Instagram, and it's kind of a generational thing. I'm not really active at all on Facebook because I don't sense a lot of B2B, and I also sense a generational thing. Less people go to Facebook for looking for things. At least that's my opinion. Not anything like TikTok or Snapchat. That's really not the messaging. The other thing I picked up was that Instagram is it's fine for B2B, but it seems like it's got a short shelf life. Your content has a short shelf life, but Pinterest is actually the content. This is social media experts telling me this. That's things seem to have a longer shelf life on Pinterest. It's a bunch of originated. It's a bunch of scrapbooks and things like that. So you can put this content out there, and it seems that people are browsing it more fulsomely versus just scanning Instagram really quick. I thought that was interesting. I haven't necessarily seen a massive difference in response, but it's something I'm keeping an eye on.
All right. Wow, this has been huge. So let's just say there's a venture capitalist out there. No. Let's say there's someone who wants money from you and your venture capital group. Then what's the next step? They get a hold of you. They look at one of your venture capital funds, because that who knows, there might be some people out there who'd be interested in that as well.
Oh, absolutely. We're always looking for good investments and stuff. And really anywhere from we'll do early stage, but we'll go up to Series A. We like to keep it between $5 and $50 million because we're kind of a boutique And if you're much bigger than 50, if you're asking for much more than 50 million bucks, you're probably going to be going to one of the big houses anyway. But yeah, through LinkedIn, through that email, Jim at talkingtreeventures.com, or the easiest ways to get a hold of me. And it's a quick conversation. We'll get you on the, I use Calendly, online calendar. That's been really powerful to be able to say, look, you're busy, I'm busy. Here's an easy way to get a hold of me. Pick the time that's going to fit with your schedule. And then it's usually a quick half-hour conversation. We're looking for, generally speaking, from the venture that I'm aware of, we don't do much angel investing, which is really early, but I'm still interested in hearing about it if it's forestry. The venture firm I work with, we're looking for middle stage. Where was I going with that?
Which venture capital, again, someone who's looking for funding potentially in their venture capital dough.
Yeah, what I was going to say was, generally speaking, folks are looking for revenue already. Pre-revenue is tougher to find money for unless it's angel. And anything over a million annual run rate would be sort of right up our alley. We love that stuff. Not to say that we'll talk with folks that are startups and things like that, because we have this really interesting network of funds that we work with that we do tons of referrals as well. But certainly on the smaller side, anything over 50 million bucks in capital that they're looking for, they're not going to be going through LinkedIn. Yeah, existing revenue would be great. In general, anything that's got a technology bent to it. We've also got a couple of really interesting AI funds starting up, and ones that we're working with. Some really interesting ones, and so they're always looking for AI. So folks are doing AI work in specific market verticals, then we'd love to talk to them as well.
All right, very cool. So, okay, let's get ready to land the plane. So what's something that we have not talked about that you think, again, can add some value to some business owners that are out there watching and listening?
Sure. So I started off talking about this idea about, what's the most effective way to communicate and match that audience. And I'm actually working on an offering that I've been using for about 4 or 5 years now. That really helps form a really holistic way of describing your business and what the opportunity is. It starts off as, it's just a P&L projection. It's a 3 to 5 year projection of what my cost and my revenue are going to be. But the way I structure it, it's just the right amount of detail to be a full answer and not too oversimplified. It gives a clear vision on, and going through the process that I have, it takes you through, how do you really understand how you're going to get that revenue and that growth that you're describing, and how you're really going to understand the cost to support that revenue. In the process of doing that, it helps answer a lot more questions than just that financial one, right? So it's great messaging for investors, for founders, for customers, for business development, for operations. They're all going to want to hear this story in different ways, and the holistic way of the way I build this P&L helps develop really good, just tons of good information to drive your pitch deck. So I call it the Impact Planner, and like I say, it's not quite ready to go out to the world as a standalone product, but that's actually what I'm looking for. I'd love to talk to any listeners of this podcast. The first 3 that contact me, I'll go through the whole process for free with you, because I want feedback. I want to understand kind of how to make this more complete, easier to use, and sort of sooner or later it will become something that I could sort of productize. But so,
all right, people got to like that, free and using your expertise, and free is a good word. So once again, how does someone get a hold of you?
Sure. So Jim MacLennan at just an email would be jim@talkingtreeventures.com, or certainly Jim MacLennan, James P. MacLennan at LinkedIn.
Awesome. Yeah, this has been good. Once again, this is Kenner French from VastSolutionsGroup.com, hanging out with Jim MacLennan. And remember, you're listening and watching Vast Voice, telling business secrets to entrepreneurs. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Kenner.